What if one of the greatest love stories in Hollywood history wasn't over? What if after more than 30 years, Julia Roberts and Richard Gere returned to the screen together in the sequel fans have been dreaming of? Imagine the magic, the charm, and the romance of Pretty Woman, but reimagined for a new generation. Back in 1990, the world was swept away by a love story no one expected. Pretty Woman was more than just another romantic comedy. It was lightning in a bottle. Audiences fell in love with Julia Roberts as Vivian, a woman full of hope and courage, and Richard Gere as Edward, the charming businessman who found love where he least expected it. Together, their chemistry lit up the screen, creating one of the most memorable pairings in film history. The movie wasn't just about a romance between two unlikely characters, it was about transformation, the idea that love can change lives in the most unexpected ways. From the unforgettable moment Vivian steps out in that iconic red dress, to Edward climbing the fire escape with flowers in hand, every scene became part of cinema history. The film shattered expectations at the box office, becoming a worldwide phenomenon, and instantly turned Julia Roberts into America's sweetheart. Its success wasn't just about money, it became a cultural event. Viewers quoted the lines, sang along with the soundtrack, and saw themselves in the fairy tale of love against all odds. Even today, more than 3 decades later, Pretty Woman remains a story people return to when they want to feel joy, hope, and romance. It wasn't just a movie, it was a moment in time, capturing the heart of the 1990s and proving that sometimes the most unlikely love stories are the ones that stay with us forever. And now, after all these years, the question everyone is asking is, could that story continue? Asterisk, after years of whispers, fan-made posters, and endless rumors across the internet, the dream that seemed impossible is finally becoming real. Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, the duo who defined on-screen chemistry for an entire generation, are stepping back into the world of Pretty Woman. For decades, people have asked the same question: will there ever be a sequel? Studios tried to answer, writers drafted spin-offs, and fans imagined their own versions of what happened after that fairy tale ending. But time and again, the idea seemed to fade away until now. The excitement isn't just about seeing Roberts and Gere on screen together again. It's about revisiting a story that gave millions of people hope and love. Hollywood rarely gets second chances like this, and the announcement feels like more than just another film release. It feels like the return of a piece of history. The internet lit up with reactions the moment news broke. Social media was flooded with nostalgic clips, fan edits, and heartfelt comments like, "This is the reunion we've all been waiting for, and some fairy tales really do get a sequel." Even critics who once doubted the possibility of a follow-up are now curious about how the magic will be recaptured after more than 3 decades. The studio behind the project promises that this won't simply be a rehash of old moments, but a bold new chapter that respects the original while offering something fresh. This sequel isn't about repeating the past. It's about exploring what happens when love must face the challenges of time, change, and reality. The announcement is more than just news. It's a promise. A promise that Edward and Vivian's story isn't finished, and that audiences will once again have the chance to laugh, cry, and fall in love with them all over again. Asterisk, imagine the story years later. The fairy tale didn't end on the fire escape, it simply paused, waiting for the next chapter. Edward and Vivian, once the dream couple of Beverly Hills, are now older, wiser, and living in a world that has changed around them. But love, as we all know, doesn't stay still. The sequel dares to ask, what happens after the happy ending? The movie takes us into their lives after decades apart, where time, choices, and fate have tested their bond. Edward, once the powerful businessman who believed money could solve everything, is now facing a life where success feels empty without true connection. Vivian, no longer the wide-eyed dreamer, has grown into a woman of strength and independence, but still carries the memory of the man who once believed in her when no one else did. Their reunion is not accidental, it's destiny, pulling them back together when the world least expects it. Visually, the film teases this return with echoes of the past, the glimmer of Beverly Hills streets at night, the sound of a limousine, Door closing, the familiar sparkle of a red dress silhouette in a shop window. But the sequel isn't just about nostalgia. It's about exploring how love evolves. This time it isn't just about two people from different worlds finding each other. It's about whether two souls can reconnect after a lifetime of distance, mistakes, and regrets. The story whispers of second chances, of promises left unfinished, of love that refused to die even when life pulled them apart. It asks the audience a powerful question. Can a fairy tale survive reality? Or, more beautifully, can reality become the fairy tale? In Pretty Woman 2, the romance doesn't just return, it deepens. The passion is older, but stronger. The stakes are higher, but so are the rewards. And the moment Edward and Vivian's eyes meet again, audiences will know. This isn't just a sequel. This is a new beginning for a story that once defined what love could look like on screen. Asterisk, what makes Pretty Woman 2 more than just another sequel is not only the story, but the people behind it. At its heart, this is a reunion of icons. Julia Roberts, the woman who lit up the world with her smile in 1990, returns not as the bright-eyed dreamer she once played, but as a woman who has lived, learned, and grown. Richard Gere, the man whose calm charm once melted hearts, comes back with the wisdom of years, ready to show us that romance does not fade with time, it evolves. Seeing these two names together again on the same poster is not just a casting choice. It's a promise. A promise that the spark audiences fell in love with decades ago will ignite once more. It's time with deeper emotion and richer layers. But there is also something more powerful at play. This sequel carries the legacy of Gary Marshall, the beloved director who gave the world the original masterpiece. Marshall is no longer with us, but his influence is woven into every scene of the new story. The team behind Pretty Woman 2 has spoken of how the film is not simply a continuation, but a tribute to his vision of love, laughter, and hope. It's as if the movie itself is a love letter not only to fans, but to the man who created one of cinema's most enduring romances. And it isn't just about Roberts and Gere. The sequel introduces a new generation of actors, adding fresh energy and modern voices to the timeless world of Edward and Vivian. These characters are not there to replace the past, but to reflect how love, family, and connection evolve across generations. In many ways, this film bridges two worlds, the dreamlike romance of the early 90s, and the complex, nuanced reality of today. When the cast announcement dropped, the internet exploded with excitement. Headlines declared it the reunion of the century. Fans who grew up with the original called it a second chance we never thought we'd get. Younger audiences who discovered Pretty Woman on streaming platforms are just as eager, proving that true love stories never age. This isn't just a movie release, it feels like an event. The kind of moment when time stops and everyone remembers why they fell in love with movies in the first place. Asterisk, the moment the world heard that Pretty Woman 2 was real, something extraordinary happened. It wasn't just an announcement, it was a wave, a ripple that spread across generations of movie lovers. Fans who once sat in theaters in 1990, holding popcorn and falling in love with Vivian and Edward for the first time, suddenly felt like time had folded in on itself. Younger audiences, who discovered the magic of Pretty Woman through late-night streaming and whispered recommendations, found themselves part of something much bigger, a global celebration of love's return. Social media lit up instantly. Hashtags trended across Twitter, TikTok edits went viral within hours. And YouTube flooded with fan-made trailers, each one trying to capture the magic of what's to come. Comments poured in. This is the sequel I never knew I needed. Pretty Woman 2 is proof that real love stories never die. Others posted nostalgic photos of themselves from the 90s, writing messages like, I watched the first movie with my mom, now I'll be watching the sequel with my daughter. The film's announcement had become more than entertainment, it had become a moment of connection. Across generations, industry voices couldn't stay silent either. Film critics who once questioned if a sequel could work are now leaning forward. Intrigued by the daring decision to continue a love story after more than 3 decades, entertainment outlets called it the reunion that Hollywood has been waiting for. Magazines labeled it a cinematic miracle. Even celebrities joined in, tweeting and posting their excitement as if they, too, were fans who grew up believing in the dream of Edward and Vivian. But perhaps the most powerful reaction came not from headlines, but from the quiet way people began revisiting the original film. DVD sales spiked, streaming charts placed Pretty Woman back in the top 10, and countless couples rewatched the film together, preparing themselves emotionally for the sequel. The movie's return had reignited the very magic that made the original. Timeless Pretty Woman 2 is no longer just a film on the horizon, it's a cultural event. It represents something rare in today's fast-moving entertainment world, a story that unites people through memory, emotion, and the hope that love, no matter how much time passes, can always find its way back. This isn't just hype. History repeating itself, with the whole world watching. Asterisk, the lights fade. The screen turns black. And then, a single piano note echoes, soft and familiar, carrying with it the weight of 30 years of memory. In the darkness, words appear. Some fairy tales never end. The music builds, pulling the audience into the rhythm of nostalgia and anticipation all at once. We see flashes not of faces, but of moments. A limousine door shutting, hotel elevator bell ringing, a red dress swaying in the evening breeze. Each image is just enough to spark recognition, to awaken the emotions buried since 1990, and then the voiceover whispers the question everyone has been waiting to hear. What happens after Happily Ever After? The answer comes not with certainty, but with promise. A promise that Edward and Vivian's story will live again. That the laughter, the romance, the magic, once thought untouchable, will rise from memory into reality. The screen glows with their names, Julia Roberts, Richard Gere. The audience doesn't need to see their faces to feel the impact. The names themselves are enough. They are legends, reunited for one final, unforgettable journey. The music swells higher now, almost triumphant. Headlines flash across the screen. The reunion of a lifetime. The love story returns. Pretty Woman 2. Social media. Reactions burst like fireworks, snippets of fan tweets, cheers, and excitement flashing in quick succession. The world isn't just ready, it's waiting, holding its breath, and then silence again. The final shot, a shadowed silhouette of a man reaching out his hand, and a woman stepping forward to take it. No words, no explanations, just a spark. Between two souls, the time could not extinguish. The screen fades to black. One final message appears in bold, glowing letters, Pretty Woman 2, coming soon. And as the words linger, the faint sound of a familiar melody returns. The soft hum of it must have been love carried on the wind, reminding us all that some stories are simply too powerful to stay in the past. Asterisk, even after the trailer ends, the feeling remains. It is the kind of silence that stays in the room after a song has finished, the silence of memory, of longing, of hearts touched in a way only stories can do. Pretty Woman was never just about romance. It was about hope, about finding beauty in unexpected places, about daring to believe in love when the world tells you it's impossible. And now, decades later, Pretty Woman 2 arrives, not only as a film, but as a reminder. A reminder that time changes faces, changes lives, but it never destroys what is true. For Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, this is more than a reunion. It is a gift to the fans who grew up with them, a return to a story that once painted the dream of what love could be. For younger audiences, it is an invitation to believe that fairy tales do not belong to the past. They are alive, waiting to be rediscovered, reimagined, and relived. Picture the audience on opening night. Generations sitting side by side, parents who once watched the original in theaters, now bringing their children to witness the continuation. The lights dim. The curtain rises. And for a few precious hours, the world outside disappears. Inside that theater, hearts beat as one, united by the timeless truth that love never dies. It only waits to be found again. The magic of Pretty Woman 2 is not in its costumes, its settings, or its nostalgia. The magic lies in its courage, too. Take a story everyone thought had ended and dare to continue it. To show us that even after 30 years, love still has something new to say. And when the credits roll, when the lights come up, when people walk out of theaters holding hands and smiling through tears, they will know that some movies are not just movies. They are memories. They are emotions. They're pieces of us. And that is why Pretty Woman 2 is not just a sequel, it is a legacy reborn.